Good morning everyone, my name is Michelle. I hope you're doing well. Welcome to another video. It's Friday morning. I'm going to get straight into this one. I want to cover the latest developments in 4 cases. So this is a whistle-stop tour across those latest developments. 4 cases: Delphi and Richard Allen, Athena Strand, the 7-year-old girl who is missing out of Paradise, Texas, the Idaho 4, and Michael Vaughan. Okay, let's go. Let's start with Richard Allen. So this is from yesterday's news. Fox 59 confirmed with multiple sources that Richard Allen, the Delphi double murder suspect, was overlooked after he came forward in 2017 due to a clerical error. The error described as a misfiling by a civilian employee with the FBI, says one Fox News reporter. Now, I said in my video a couple of days ago when I went through the probable cause affidavit, when Richard Allen came forward, the focus of that person who interviewed him was most definitely as him as a witness, with no thought to the fact that, well, if he was there on the bridge and he was there for a couple of hours and he didn't see Abby or Libby, why not just look into him a little bit further? The only note that that person gave who interviewed Richard Allen back in 2017 was that he mentioned 3 juveniles, 3 girls, who were subsequently interviewed. Actually, we don't know. We don't know at what time Richard Allen came forward, what day he came forward. Did he come forward straight after? Did he come forward weeks after? We don't know from the probable cause affidavit. The dates that these interviews took place were not included. So had they already interviewed those 3 juvenile girls? Were they aware of them when Richard Allen came forward? Or did Richard Allen's tip, in inverted commas, lead them to those 3 juvenile girls who were witnesses who saw Richard Allen? Did he come forward because he knew people had seen him? I suspect so. We have multiple witnesses who saw a vehicle, and then this vehicle that was seen wasn't identified as a Ford Focus that law enforcement believe Richard Allen was driving that day. They named all sorts of different vehicles that don't look like a Ford Focus. Anyway, that's by the by for the purpose of this particular point here, that he was completely overlooked because it was just filed as a witness. He wasn't looked at again. So investigators didn't know the description of his clothing because it wasn't looked into. It was only in October 2022 that they asked him all of these questions that they should have asked him in 2017. But the latest from the court in relation to Richard Allen's case: the court orders the state's motion for order prohibiting parties, counsel, law enforcement officials, court personnel, coroner and family members from disseminating information or releasing any extrajudicial statements by means of public communications. So that has gone through, court ordered. The state requested that and the judge has ordered that. And then the defendant's verified motion for change of venue from the county is set for hearing on January 13th, 2023 at 10 a.m. So I will be covering that hearing. What the defence wants is that the case be moved out of Carroll County because it's too well known. They won't get a fair trial, and they're requesting for it to be moved 150 miles away. So I can easily see the judge granting that, honestly, but we'll have to wait and see until January 13th. Obviously, if there's any further updates regarding Richard Allen or the case in general, then I will update. I'll update immediately. So let's move on now to this little girl here that many of you might not have heard of. Now, I did talk about her case right at the beginning of my live last night over on my other channel, Michelle Walks. I streamed the Michael Vaughan press conference, which I'll come on to in a moment. But I did talk about a couple of cases before I went live, an hour before the press conference, so I could cover a couple of other cases. And one of them was this little girl here. Her name is Athena Strand. She's 7 years old. She's got blonde hair, blue eyes. She's about 4 foot tall and weighs about 62 pounds. and she's missing out of Wise County, Paradise, Texas. She was last seen on November 30th, 2022, around 5:30 p.m. She disappeared from her father's house. So her father allegedly was out hunting. He'd gone on a hunting trip, and Athena was with her stepmother. So there's a lot coming out in the Facebook groups about this case. For the purposes of this video, I just want to publicise her details. I am going to be doing a live over on Michelle Walks later today. I haven't decided what time yet, but do look out for the scheduler, and that live is going to be on Athena Strand. So she's wearing washed out blue jeans with flowers embroidered around the front pockets, a grey or black long sleeve shirt, light brown boots, and maybe a flannel overskirt. So the police are looking at this case as an act of crime. This is from the Aware Foundation. Now, at the time that I discussed this case on my live, she was listed as an endangered child. So endangered child alerts had gone out. During the process of my live, people from Texas who were in my chat said that they'd got the Amber Alert. So she's now an Amber Alert child. It's been intense. We're going to talk about all of that later today in my live. They've covered several miles now, and there's no sign. At the time of recording this video, which is about 10:30 Friday morning my time, so it's the middle of the night in Texas, she has been missing for 2 nights now. So if she's out there somewhere, you know, the weather is not in her favour. Did she wander away? Is there foul play? Has she been abducted? Like I said, the Amber Alert has gone out now. So if you do have any information, if you're in the area, please do contact Wise County Sheriff's Office on 940-627-5971 or call 911 if you've got any information at all about the whereabouts of Athena Strand. So we'll talk about her more later. Next, let's move on to the Idaho 4 murders. The 4 University of Idaho students who were murdered in their beds in the early morning hours of November 13th. There's still no suspect in the case, but law enforcement are putting out regular updates. Now, yesterday in my video, I pointed to some confusion that had come out, some misspeak from the prosecutor's office. Brian Entin had interviewed the prosecutor. Brian was told that the house was the target, not the individuals within the house. And then Morgan Romero also interviewed the prosecutor, and he said that it was individuals that had been targeted. So there was then a further clarification from the City of Moscow Police Department saying, clarification, conflicting information that has been released over the past 24 hours. The prosecutor's office stated the suspects specifically looked at this residence and that one or more of the occupants were undoubtedly targeted. So they spoke to the prosecutor's office and identified this was a miscommunication. Detectives currently do not know if the residents or any occupants were specifically targeted, but continue to investigate. Well, this went against what they've been saying. They were saying at press conferences that this was targeted murders, and people had run with that. So then the news yesterday was saying it wasn't targeted. Well, they didn't actually say it wasn't targeted. They just didn't know. They came out and said they don't know if any particular occupants or the residents was targeted. So it got very confusing. So there's now been another development that Morgan Romero has reported here. So this was 16 hours ago as I record this. From the Public Information Officer of Idaho State Police, Aaron Snail, he said to Morgan Romero, "We remain consistent in our belief that this was indeed a targeted attack, but have not concluded if the target was the residents or its occupants." So that's the latest, that they believe it was targeted. They just don't know whether it was any particular individual within that residence or whether it was the residence itself that was targeted. In my mind, it's clear. They believe it's targeted, but they don't know what the target was. That's what I'm taking from this. So let me know in the comments if you agree with me. Now, there has been a further update yesterday, December 1st. So I want to read you the updated information. Detectives are aware of a sixth person listed on the lease at the residence, but do not believe that individual was present during the incident. So this was a 6-bedroom house with 5 current occupants. Xana, who slept on the 2nd floor, the 2 survivors, whose bedrooms were on the 1st floor on the parking level, Maddie, and Kaylee, so that makes 5. So 5 bedrooms out of the 6 in the residence were occupied. Kaylee was actually in the process of moving herself. She was due to move to Texas. She'd come back to the residence to show off her new vehicle and to, spend some time with her friend Maddie, because she was due to move to Texas. She got a new job. She was due to start that job in January. Her life was all set. She got this great job. She was at the end of her college days. So she'd come back to spend some time with Maddie, but was in the process of moving out. But there was a 6th resident who had moved out. She'd already gone. I presume it's a she, but that person had already gone, but still listed on the lease. Now, this has confused a lot of people, saying who's the 6th resident, because it was originally the 6th resident was thought to be Ethan, but no, he lived in the frat house nearby. He was Xana's boyfriend. So they don't believe that individual was present. They don't believe, presumably, that individual was involved, but let's wait and see as to what develops from that. So next, Idaho State Police Forensic Services Crime Lab scientists have worked on this case for weeks and have provided testing and analysis results to detectives. As they complete additional tests, those results will also be provided. To protect the investigation's integrity, specific results will not be released. So that's understandable. We're not going to get DNA results or anything like that. Unless there's a named suspect and that's publicised, then we're not going to know. So Nancy Grace coming out saying she knows there was DNA at the scene and she knows that that's not in CODIS. She was misspeaking. She was assuming, but saying she knew. It was her opinion, but she was saying she knew. So that's bad form on Nancy Grace's part. They have clarified that, yes, they've done lots of testing, they're doing additional testing, but individual results will not be released. Nancy Grace does not have insider information. In my opinion, she doesn't. In my opinion, it was just a misspeak. So they go on to say, we remain consistent in our belief that this was a targeted attack, but investigators have not concluded if the target was the residents or if it was occupants. We continue receiving inquiries about comments made by Bill Thompson, the prosecutor, who said the suspect specifically looked at the victim's residence and that one or more of the occupants were undoubtedly targeted. The Moscow Police Department is the only provider of official information regarding this case. So I bet they're somewhat annoyed about what Bill Thompson said. Anyway, the tip line, if you've got any information at all, however small, it could be the thing that breaks this case. If you've got a tip, the tip line is 208-883-7180, or you can email tipline@ci.moscow.id.us. Digital media needs to be sent directly to the FBI at fbi.gov/Moscow, Idaho. So Moscow, Idaho, all one word. At this time, no suspect has been identified and only vetted information that does not hinder the investigation will be released to the public. There is speculation without factual backing, stoking community fears and spreading false facts. We encourage referencing official releases for accurate information and updated progress. Okay, so that's the latest from the Idaho case there. That's the latest update, December the 1st. Finally, let's move on to Michael Vaughan. Oh, the press conference yesterday absolutely broke me. It broke me. I think people who were on my live yesterday realised that I was just brokenhearted, thinking about 4 suspects, thinking that these 4 absolute lowlifes here, yeah, I know, innocent till proven guilty, I know, guys, but Sarah Wanderer in jail because it's believed she failed to report the death of Michael Vaughan. Played her arraignment on this channel. We watched her. She's been deemed incompetent to proceed as of yet, and there will be an update on that soon. Stacey Wanderer, her husband, who's been in jail since May on unrelated federal charges. It's not easy to find out what those charges were, but there's a slew of them. We know that the credible tip that law enforcement received that led them to that address, 1102 Red Wing Street in Fruitland, Idaho, came from an occupant of the house. Didn't come from Sarah. She was there when the search warrant was completed and law enforcement went there, and she made those statements that it was Adrian that did it. She made statements that said God had told her that Stacey was involved. So there's 2 other people who were staying at that house at the time Michael disappeared. Adrian has now been named. It's this guy here, Adrian Lucien, who has got contacts in Ohio, California, as well as Idaho. He really worries me, guys. He really worries me. And then we've got Brandon Shurtliff. Now, Brandon Shurtliff is the guy that JLR, Jonathan Lee Riches, interviewed. When was this? Interviewed him on November 25th. The cops want to speak to this guy. This guy says he can't go back to Idaho because of a marijuana charge that they're going to slap on him. Well, police want to talk to you, Brandon. Police want to talk to you. I hope JLR has turned this interview in to the cops. I'm hoping that he has. Jonathan, if you see this video and you've not done, please, please, please turn this in to the cops. Good interview that Jonathan did. You know, it's a fine line when you're interviewing potential suspects. I mean, at the time, Jonathan didn't know that this guy was a suspect, that it was just that he was living there, that he knew Sarah and Stacey. But he gave an account of what he did the day Michael disappeared. Him, Sarah, and Adrian were cruising around the mall, going to this place and that place and the other place. Sounds like a lot of over-explaining, a lot of unnecessary detail about that day, which gives me alarm bells. It throws up red flags for me. But Brandon Shurtliff is wanted. He is wanted. He needs to come forward to the police. If you know the whereabouts of Brandon Shurtliff, please turn him in. Turn him in. The cops want to speak to him. They believe he has knowledge of the abduction of Michael Vaughan. Turn him in. Likewise, Adrian Lucien, if you are aware of Adrian Lucien's whereabouts, turn him in. Turn him in to the cops, guys. Brandon, Adrian, time is running out. You either voluntarily go and talk to the cops or they'll come and get you. They'll come and get you. Do the right thing. Turn yourselves in. I don't even want to imagine what Michael went through. I really do not want to imagine what he went through. I feel so sorry. My heart breaks for Brandy, Tyler, Grandpa Bob, and the rest of Michael's family, his siblings who've had to live through this. I'll say again, the low-life people who blame the parents, who have refused to apologise, you are low-lifes. You are low-lifes. You do not deserve to be in the true crime community. I'm not going to name you. I'm not going to call you out. But apologise. Apologise. Simple as that. All right, guys, this video's probably got a bit longer than I anticipated, but that's okay. Again, I'll be live later talking about Athena Strand. I also want to talk about Aspen Jetta, which is another heartbreaking case. So look out for the scheduler. It will be over on Michelle Walks. So I'll see you there later, hopefully. Bye for now, guys. I've been Michelle. Hope you're well. And goodbye from Miss Tillington and Miss Cassie Springer. Bye for now.